Greetings and welcome to Plagued Politics. I'm your host, the Plague Doctor. On January the 6th, Donald Trump Jr. was one of his father's warm-up acts at the MAGA rally at the Ellipse at the Capitol, helping to whip up the crowd into a frenzy. And he made it very clear that if Republicans didn't do the Trump's bidding, then the Trump political machine would be coming after them. And yesterday, he made good on his threats, declaring that he will campaign against Liz Cheney in the 2022 Wisconsin Republican primary election. And in doing so, he sent a very clear message to other Republican members of Congress: cross the Trumps at your own risk and peril. Liz Cheney, one of the top 3 Republican leaders in the House of Representatives, was one of 10 Republican House members that voted in favor of Trump's second impeachment. She made a number of statements that infuriated the Trump camp, including ones that condemned former President Trump for initiating and spreading the fake conspiracy theory that the election was stolen and that there was widespread voter fraud. And as a result, Trump shouldn't have a role in future Republican Party leadership. She also made an appeal for the Republican Party to return to being the party of truth and reason, and that the Republican Party and its supporters should take a good, honest, hard look at what actually happened in 2020, so as not to repeat their losses again in 2022 and 2024. Those sound like reasonable, rational words from a Republican leader striving to reclaim some sense of normality, of credibility, and that the majority of Republicans seem to think otherwise. Although August 2022 is still quite a ways off in the future, the impact of Donald Trump Jr.'s threats will definitely kind of like have an intimidating effect on the minds of many Republicans that might have been considering voting their conscience regarding the impeachment trial, just as Liz Cheney did. And they're now more mindful that angering the Trumps might very well spell the end of their own political career. As to what actually happens in August 2022, it's still too early to tell. Donald Trump and many of his associates, they face a slew of lawsuits being filed against him. In addition to the ones shown kind of like in the little info box there on the right, there's also the possibility that a number of other civil and state lawsuits will be filed against him and his aides and his campaign organization in regards to his lies and his false allegations regarding, the widespread voter fraud. If Donald Trump Jr., if he can weather the potential fallout as a result of these lawsuits, and depending upon how loyal the Trump political dynasty's base remains, depending upon kind of like what skeletons may or may not come out of the Trump closet, we can expect to see him take advantage of very public events, such as campaigning against Republican candidates to displace any Republican member of Congress, be that from the House or the Senate, as the Trumps seek to tighten their grasp on American politics. I hope that the irony of the Trumps, who frequently moan and complain about how cancel culture is a far-right communist tool, how they use it in an almost unprecedented manner. They aren't campaigning for a particular candidate who they like or who supports the Trumps. We don't even know who all the Republican candidates are going to be yet, but rather they are specifically campaigning against anybody who dares to kind of like blow a little bit in the direction of the kind of like somewhat flimsy political house of cards that the Trumps are building. It still seems strong for many people, but I think as time passes, you're going to get people polarizing, and again, you might see a split within the Republican Party. But then again, that's plagued politics for you. Thank you, everybody.